"The king is dead." The news spread through the streets of Jerusalem like wildfire, igniting both grief and relief. Herod the Great, a ruler renowned for grandiose building projects, unrelenting ambition, and merciless cruelty, was no more. But with his passing in 4 BC, a new drama began, the scramble for power among his sons, each vying for pieces of his fractured kingdom. This story unfolds like an epic tale of ambition, betrayal, diplomacy, and revolt. A tale in which the destinies of kingdoms and empires are decided not just by armies, but by intrigue, political maneuvering, and Roman power. Prologue. A king like no other. Herod wasn't just a king, he was a builder, tyrant, politician, and survivor. His reign, which spanned nearly 4 decades, was marked by dazzling achievements and horrific deeds. He rebuilt the Second Temple in Jerusalem, a masterpiece of architecture that dazzled all who saw it. He constructed the mighty fortress at Masada and the harbor city of Caesarea Maritima, securing his legacy as one of the greatest builders in Jewish history. But Herod's brilliance was darkened by paranoia and cruelty. In his quest to maintain power, he executed rivals, including members of his own family. No one was safe, not even his beloved wife, Marianne, or his 2 sons, Alexander and Aristobulus, whom he accused of treason and ordered to be strangled. As his health deteriorated in the final years of his life, Herod became increasingly erratic. He knew that the moment of his death would unleash chaos. Aware of the rivalries brewing among his surviving sons, Herod revised his will multiple times. He divided his kingdom to avoid conflict, but instead, he sowed the seeds of future discord. And with the inevitable hand of death closing in, the fate of Judea would soon be decided, not just by his heirs, but by the mighty Roman Empire. Herod's final days, paranoia and agony. Herod's last days were marked by excruciating physical suffering. According to the historian Josephus, the king was afflicted with a mysterious illness. He was tormented by fever, intense pain in his abdomen, gangrenous sores, convulsions, and even hallucinations. His agony was both physical and mental, as he was haunted by the ghosts of those he had murdered to secure his throne. Yet even on his deathbed, Herod's paranoia remained undiminished. In one final act of ruthlessness, he ordered the execution of his son Antipater, believing that the young prince had plotted against him. Antipater's death, which occurred only 5 days before Herod's own, epitomized the blood-drenched nature of the king's rule. No mercy, not even for one's own flesh and blood. Before he died, Herod summoned his advisors and loyal subjects. He made one last grim decree, the massacre of the Jewish elders. He feared that no one would mourn his death, so he ordered the arrest of the most respected leaders in Judea, intending for them to be executed upon his passing. That way, he thought, there would be mourning in the land. Fortunately, this final command was never carried out. When Herod breathed his last, his courtiers released the elders instead of killing them. Yet the chaos that followed his death would be just as devastating. The will of a tyrant, dividing the kingdom. Herod's will, revised just weeks before his death, divided his kingdom among 3 of his surviving sons. His goal was to prevent any single heir from amassing enough power to overthrow the others. But in doing so, he shattered the fragile unity of his realm. Herod Archelaus was named ethnarch of Judea, Samaria, and Idumea, the largest and most prestigious part of the kingdom. However, his rule would prove disastrous. Herod Antipas, a more capable and cautious leader, was made tetrarch of Galilee and Perea. He would go on to govern for decades, becoming a key player in events related to Jesus of Nazareth. Philip the Tetrarch received Batanea, Trachonitis, and Auranitis, regions in the northeast of Herod's former domain. His quiet, peaceful reign was marked by infrastructure development and stability. The struggle for power. A family torn apart. Though Herod's will was clear, it didn't stop his sons from bickering over their inheritance. Herod Archelaus quickly faced opposition, not just from his brothers, but from the people he now ruled. Archelaus's brutal tactics, inherited from his father, alienated the population. When he ordered the massacre of 3,000 Jews during Passover to crush a potential revolt, the people of Judea were outraged. Meanwhile, Herod Antipas wasn't content with his smaller share of the kingdom. Ambitious and shrewd, he traveled to Rome, seeking to convince the Emperor Augustus that he, not Archelaus, should rule as king over Judea. Augustus, however, had no intention of allowing another Herod to wield unchecked power. Instead, he ratified Herod's will with minor modifications, granting each son control over their designated territories. Revolts and Roman intervention. The division of Herod's kingdom did little to pacify Judea. Soon after his death, the region erupted in rebellion. Dissatisfied with Archelaus's rule, the people petitioned Rome to remove him. Augustus finally lost patience with Archelaus's incompetence and exiled him to Gaul in AD 6. With Archelaus gone, Judea was placed under direct Roman administration, overseen by a series of governors known as prefects, one of whom would become infamous, Pontius Pilate. Herod Antipas, a tetrarch in the spotlight. In the meantime, Herod Antipas governed Galilee and Perea with skill and diplomacy. Though he never received the title of king, Antipas played a significant role in shaping the political landscape of the region. He founded the city of Tiberias and maintained friendly relations with the Roman authorities. However, he is perhaps best remembered for his involvement in the execution of John the Baptist, and later for his minor but symbolic role in the trial of Jesus of Nazareth. Antipas's rule ended in disgrace when he was accused of conspiracy against the Roman Emperor Caligula. Stripped of his titles and wealth, Antipas was exiled to Gaul, where he lived out his days in obscurity. Philip the Tetrarch, the quiet ruler. Unlike his brothers, Philip governed his northeastern territories without controversy. He focused on development, founding the city of Caesarea Philippi and maintaining peace in his region. Philip's peaceful reign ensured that his subjects enjoyed stability, something rare in those turbulent times. A fractured legacy. The aftermath of Herod's death. Herod the Great's death marked the end of an era, but it also set the stage for the growing influence of Rome in the region. As his sons squabbled and Judea descended into rebellion, Roman governors gradually took control, culminating in the appointment of prefects and, later, procurators. These events planted the seeds of future conflicts, including the Jewish revolt of AD 66-70 that would lead to the destruction of the Second Temple. Herod's architectural legacy endured, but his political legacy was one of fragmentation and decline. His son's inability to maintain unity ensured that Rome would play an ever larger role in Judea's affairs, a legacy that would have profound implications for Jewish history and the early Christian movement. Conclusion. The death of a king, the birth of new struggles. Herod the Great's death in 4 BC was more than just the passing of a tyrant. It was the end of a turbulent reign and the beginning of new conflicts that would shape the fate of Judea for generations. His kingdom, divided among his sons, would never regain the strength and unity it once had. And as Rome's grip tightened, the people of Judea found themselves caught between ambitious rulers, harsh governors, and the hope for a messianic deliverer.